Grab a drink, a joint, or maybe just your chair. It's time for Business After Hours with Summer Thorn and Claire Tinkler. What is going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me and my beautiful co host, Summer Thorn, CPA, MBA, veteran, badass, all of the above. What would you say? We're just randomly happen to be 2 CPAs, but we're super obsessed
Yeah,
with business and everything about business.
it's on the fringe. Definitely, I had a call with the software company. They have a different accounting software. It's called Clockwork. And so I was looking at their website today trying to see. Remember, I was telling you about Flyfin. I was like, why doesn't Zero and QBO do this? They're the closest I found.
Yes.
So I had a call with them today, and he's describe your clients. Like we have clients on the fringe, like ranging from cannabis, tattoo artists, like just everyone that CPAs don't typically work with.
Yeah, and I feel like just I I don't know any nice way to put this or any other way to put this, but I
Yeah.
feel like the whole industry, the whole accounting industry for so many years, it's been about, "Hey, you're gonna get your 4 years, you're gonna get your degree, then you're gonna have to go back to school. You're either gonna have to get whatever hours," which is what I did. I was like, "I'm just going the cheapest, easiest route." Or you can get your MBA, but then you've gotta study and sit for the CPA
Yeah.
exam, and
Which about 2 years. If you're working in public and trying to get your CPA, you're talking,
yeah.
like, 2 years.
Yeah, and see, I got super lucky because even though at the time I was like, I'm not good enough because I had interviews in college with really big firms. And obviously, I was never hired for an internship or a position at a super large firm, but I did get a job in government, which was nice because it sounds like between me and you, because it took me about a year to get mine. So, working a state job, getting paid to study, getting time off to study. I got it took me about a year. Not only do you have to get your degree, then you have to get your extra hours, then you have to study for the exam. Then you start out and you can only get a really good job if you keep continuing and moving on the public route. And eventually I got a job in public, but
Where'd you work?
I worked for a pretty big firm out of New Orleans, Louisiana, and
Like a
then
regional?
huh?
Like a regional size?
Yeah, regional size, and then I bounced around for a few times, and then I got fired, and I still to this day I have no idea why I was fired, but then my dad was like, "Just start your own firm," and scared shitless, I was just like, "Okay." Opened a LLC and was just like, "Yeah, I can do your taxes," but obviously it wasn't enough to pay the bills. My dad was having to pay my mortgage.
Oh, damn.
But, yeah, at that time, it was just eventually it was a side gig because thank God I was able to go back to my old state job and work with them while I slowly grew my firm, which it took about 7 years for me to finally quit my job, but when you think about it, because I didn't think that I was worthy or good enough or the imposter syndrome or whatever it was, like
Real yeah.
I could have if I would have really put my mind to it and knew that I could have done it, I could have grown that and quit my job way sooner. So, I feel like a lot of people have that self-doubt, that thought in the back of their mind, and it's just we can all do it. Like, anybody can do anything that they want. You just have to put the work in, be consistent, and it'll happen. You just have to be patient.
Consistency is a freaking superpower that I think is underestimated because it's boring. It's not the sexy thing. The thing that we glorify and we think is so awesome are like innovation and being on the cutting edge. And those things are awesome too. But really like consistency is a superpower, like showing up every single day
Yes.
is so important. And it gets hard when like throughout the life cycle of a business, of the economy, there's ups and downs. And not only are you everything, the whole entire business, HR, sales, marketing, finance, everything. And then you're doing the work too, whatever that is. but you also have to be your own cheerleader. Like when you're down, when you get turned down for a client or you're not making sales or whatever it is that is basically failure or lack of sales in whatever market you're in, like you have to be the cheerleader. You have to be the person that picks yourself back up and says,
Yeah,
I believe that this is going to get better regardless of whether it is or does. You have to believe that. You have to be a little fucking insane
you
to make
do.
it better.
And you have to keep showing up for yourself when and so especially after being fired and not knowing where the hell my life was going and starting my own firm, but then growing it and quitting my day job and but thinking about you have to get a good public position and you gotta go either the tax route or the audit route,
Yep.
and you have to pave your way that way, and you've gotta decide that's where the fork is in the road, and you're gonna get paid a really shitty amount, and you're gonna work a shit ton of hours because there's an audit busy season and there's a
Yep.
tax busy season, and so you're gonna get you're probably gonna get paid around $14 an hour when you think about all the
A lot.
hours
Like,
that
thinking about the time we're putting in and, like, the dollar value, like, at first, I was like, "Oh, 55K out of college, that's awesome." That's what my first job was, and then busy season hit, and I was like, "Whoa, effective hourly rate has gone down. This is not a
Yeah, this
lot."
is yeah, and
I have to
so, like, how and thankfully, like, me starting my firm that way, that was getting fired was the best thing that ever happened to me because it helped me eventually, and my dad helping me as well, like, I'm here now, and this is how I met you, and we're helping people that we want to help, and it's not that we, just wanna work with those people, we enjoy working with everyone, but it's like those people need the most help because the old white man with the super starched button-up shirt is let's just be honest, that's who's been judging those types of people for forever. Like, how did you get started? What made you decide on accounting, and, like, how the hell did you start your business and everything? Here we are together, thank God, but holy shit, how did you get into accounting?
I feel like when I used to have to like, when you're younger and you're starting out, like, your about me section or, like, your speech, like, "How did you get into" is very short. You're, like, trying to figure out what to say because 'cause you're like, "I haven't lived that long, like, this is my first job." But now I'm like, "Shit, if I tell the whole story, it's gonna take up this whole podcast." But it's, like, short version, like, I spent 10 years, almost 11 in the Air Force, drove a fuel truck, got to do some cool shit, and then eventually got sick of deploying, and I had 2 small children at the time and didn't wanna leave them behind, and so I was like, "Well, it's a good steady job that's got, like, decent pay, and I can take off work their baseball games and stuff." And I
Yeah,
really just wanted, like, something fucking easy and boring, mundane, and something that I could do and still show up for them, have some time. Little did I didn't know anybody in the accounting industry because I had spent my whole adult life in the Air Force,
yeah,
and that always stood out as, "Oh, this is a it's an easy route because you know you have the path forward is predetermined. The only decision you have to make is tax or audit."
yeah.
I got into it and fucking hated it. It's in fact, like, as soon as I got my CPA license, which was a whole that took 2 years, I started out at a public firm. I realized when I was in the public firm that I wasn't gonna get my CPA license if I continued because there was just not enough time. I was single momming it. I was working
Holy shit.
hours
Yeah.
and trying to study on top of that. Um, so I left and I went and did internal audit at a bank where it's much slower. Internal audit, if anyone's ever done that, it's the fucking most boring job.
It really
This was great when you're
is.
studying government work, like the government accounting is probably really boring, but it was good for what I needed at the time. And after I got my CPA license, I hit like a wall where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. It was like immediately after I
As
got
soon
to,
as
I passed
oh,
the
shit.
exam, like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this anymore. And so I did the same thing. Like I bounced around. I probably like the threshold was like I never stayed anywhere longer than
Like
14,
a
15.
year or so? Yeah, that's me too. Yeah, about 16 months max, maybe.
Yep, and so I worked at a regional firm first, internal audit at a bank, then I worked at a mom and pop place, that was a shit show, probably the worst place I ever worked at. And then finally, I just started doing odd jobs, like I did reviews for another company that they specialize in reviews for companies that were seeking, funding from, like, crowdfunding platforms. So it was very niche, but it was really great. Like that imposter syndrome is real. And I think everyone has it. I do think that it skews a little towards the female. Like I think that women tend to have more of that imposter syndrome than men. I could be wrong. But
Yeah, I feel like you're right. I feel like you're
that
right.
that company that I worked for that did the reviews, I got to see, like, hundreds of financials, which when I saw them and after working in that world of, like, public accounting, everything is, like, very strict. You're judging people's financials, you've gotta get in there, you gotta get up in that shit and like, down to the nitty-gritty and see what they're doing. The financials of these companies that are seeking upwards of 1,000,000, not super big numbers, like, in the public realm, but it's public money. It's like private investors seeing their financials. If these people can raise $1,000,000 with this garbage going
Why
in,
the hell can yeah, why the hell can I can't? Yeah.
like, I can definitely do better than these other firms, or they were just a mess. They were a mess. And then after seeing them, I was like, it's a good thing, man. We're not allowed to talk about some of the things that we saw, but there's definitely companies that after seeing their financials and like how they did stuff was like, I wouldn't invest in you. Like you can see Dr. Cami, what she said in her podcast, she was talking about the business is an extension of your consciousness. Like the values and principles that you have as a person are gonna translate over into your business. You just can't help it. Like we used to try to have this separation between work and business. Like you don't talk about that stuff when it's
Yeah.
personal, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. Fucking bullshit. Doesn't exist. There's no separation. Like it is you. It's an extension of you. And I wholeheartedly believe that. So like how you
Yeah,
do
me too.
one is how you do anything. So if you have principles, values, and ethics in your personal life, that's gonna transfer over into your business life. And that's gonna your clients, your customers, they're gonna see that, they're gonna feel that, they're gonna identify with that. So if you're half-assing the books, if you're half-assing the finance, if you're half-assing anything in your business, sometimes it's in earnest though. Like it's sheer lack of if I'm half-assing marketing, it's because I'm trying my fucking hardest, but that's the best I can do.
Yeah, yeah, but
I
then
just yeah.
there's the other side of the spectrum too, because it's because it's because you don't want to, or
Yeah, where you're just, like, not trying or,
yeah, you
I
had
think a lot of lack of funds in the small business realm where it's, "I don't have the money to do that or to do this," and like, resources are limited. But really, we've worked with people before where there's hybrid, "Hey, if you wanna do this piece to take a lot of the work off, and we'll review it every once in a while." Service providers will work with you. What
yeah.
our investment is like that long-term relationships. As you grow, yeah, we'll provide more services, and we'll build that rapport with you so that you can trust us before having to pay us for those very expensive advisory services.
Yeah, and I think that people also don't realize the hours that go into the services. So, like, I think, especially when it comes to taxes, and obviously we don't have to talk about this for too long, but I don't think, like, with people with business entities, I don't think that they realize, like, unless you're doing the books, you need all of the bank statements, you need all of the credit card statements, you need to reconcile all of those accounts, and you need to check all of the loans, and if you've got assets and you've got bills, they don't realize that you've gotta tie out all those numbers, like, they forget about the balance sheet, like, the whole balance sheet has to be tied up, reconciled, depreciation's gotta be recorded, there are journal entries that have to be recorded, and then you've gotta build all these work papers, so
Yep.
then you can make an entire spreadsheet with 20 tabs about all of the shit that you've done, and then you can go plug the numbers into a return, which doesn't take that long, but, like, people
I'm
don't.
surprised how many financials I saw that don't have what you're talking about though, the tie outs, the tabs, like the balance sheet that is supported by numbers and documentation and depreciation schedules and all that stuff. There's a lot
Yeah.
of firms that do not do that.
And as far as pricing goes, I feel like our pricing is pretty standard and on point as far as our experience level and how we are and what we do and how we do things. But people are, of course, you're always going to have clients that come in and say, but we can't afford that or it's too expensive. And it's just okay. But think about it this way, like, we have all of our costs, we have the cost of our liability, and then we have all of our softwares. We've got data encryption. We've got to have firewalls and VPNs and everything. We've got to have security software. You have all of this data. Like, do you really want to give somebody your bank account and your social security number and your address to somebody that you're gonna pay $50 for them to do your tax return?
The short, you get what you pay for, right? Like we're not the
It's
we're not the most expensive. We're not the least expensive. Um,
yeah,
the
cheap
least
is always expensive.
Yeah, I mean, in the bookkeeping world, low barrier to entry, you don't have to have any qualifications. So, of course, it's gonna be cheaper, but we've had a very high barrier to entry into the CPL realm, CPA realm, and we charge accordingly. And the knowledge that we bring and the security that people should feel when hiring a CPA firm
Yeah.
yeah, we aren't gonna be in the nitty-gritty of everything, like, we're gonna outsource that piece, but with our names on the business, of course, we're gonna do a very in-depth review and make sure that everything every item, every product that's going out the door is audit proof, or we're making sure that everything's tied out to something. So,
Yeah.
you pay for, though, man. I think people have this really big misconception that every penny that they pay the service provider is going to their pockets, and that's simply not true.
Yeah, oh my god, that would be freaking lovely. If I didn't have to pay $20,000 a year just to have tax software, like, that would be super nice for it, and 20,000 for the research software. If I didn't have that, that would be great, but because people don't realize that part.
20, yeah, and then the 30% in taxes we also have to pay, and we're saying when we do hire people, we've gotta we when we hire people, like, I've had, those questions like, "Oh, are you doing all the work? Or are you outsourcing it like it's a bad, ugly thing?" And I'm like, "I'm outsourcing it, of course. That makes it cheaper for you." You realize my hourly rate and their hourly rate are different. Like, for folks
Yeah.
hourly rate that I hire, much cheaper. So I like, by me doing that, it's keeping it cheap for you.
Yeah, and I definitely would say that I love the guy that we have now, and I feel like he's gonna grow with us. And like that's another thing that we are doing things differently because when you do go work for a big firm, like you sit down and you do your work, you learn your work, someone trains you how to maybe prepare a return and what you don't enter and what you do enter into the software, but they don't teach you tax planning. They don't help you, they don't assist you throughout the year, they teach you how to do the work, and then you're punching numbers, and that's all you do. You're putting people's numbers in the return. They're not trying to help the client save money, and if they do, the client has to request it, and it's a big deal, but we're doing things differently because we want people to stay with us for a long time, and because I know that there is right now with so many firms, like, there's not enough accountants, and so the turnover is really fast, and I've gotten so many I don't know about you, but, like, I've gotten so many complaints from like, on discovery calls of but it's just a new staff member every time I try to talk to him about something,
Yep,
and
got a lot actually.
so I think and I don't wanna do that, and we've both lived through the making $14 an hour and not having a life, and like, we don't want I don't want anybody to have to go through that, like, that was shitty and that was miserable, and you do all this fucking school, like, you could have been a doctor and yeah, then obviously you have debt from med school, but holy shit, like, you don't wanna graduate and get all your shit together just to get out and work 80 hours a week for 6 months out of the
Yeah.
year and you make 50 grand.
I don't think I'm not trying to shit on the career field because obviously it's provided me this
We
opportunity,
need
but
yeah.
we're to do this over, I would not choose this. I wouldn't choose the CPA path. I love business, and I think I was thinking today, I was taking care of my boyfriend who's just got done with surgery, and I'm like, I really enjoy that. I like taking care of him and bringing him food and making sure he feels okay, and I think I would have been a nurse or, like, something in that field, like nurturing, but I
Yeah.
think no matter what field I went into, I would have started my own business. It's just I think that's just in my DNA. That's
Same.
yeah.
Yeah, I think so too, and especially because I'm so obsessed with it, and I'm sure you are too. But and I feel the same way. I didn't know at 21 I started out in pre-pharmacy for crying out loud. I landed in accounting because I was good at math, but now I love it because I love helping people grow their businesses
Yeah.
and save in taxes and build their wealth, and that is, like, super cool to me and super fun to be able to do that and to help people and to educate them, like, when people actually understand, like, what the hell is going on with their numbers and their business, and they're actually doing like, they're being proactive and
Yeah.
planning, it's it's fucking fun. It's a lot of
It is.
fun, and
It is.
just to see them and to see how you make them feel, like, that's obviously the biggest thing was just,
Yeah. I think,
makes
like,
you really grateful.
I like the light bulb moments because I realized this early that there were certain teachers in college where a subject just wasn't hitting, and sometimes it was like a math class, like math, or what was it, business calc. That class
Yeah,
was very hard, and I took it a couple times because I failed the first time. Different teachers had different methods of teaching, and I was like, maybe it's not me, maybe it's just like how they're talking, their communication style. And so
yeah,
I think another thing that it's not I don't know what you would even call it, the skill of talking to people in different languages, all in English, but in different learning styles is what I mean. One teacher had one way of speaking and one had another. And one class I was able to pass and the other one I was suffering. But
Yeah.
it was how they were teaching. So, like, when I see on someone's face that they're not understanding what I'm saying, and a lot of times, like, people feel sheepish or about their financials, "Oh, I should know this," or "I'm dumb," or "I'm incompetent," or whatever. I'm never
Yeah.
thinking, "No, I need to switch what I'm saying to resonate with this person, and what language do I need to speak to communicate this to them? Do I need to speak in numbers? Do I need to speak in pictures? Do I need to relate more emotionally?" And so that's why it's I guess it's EQ would be the skill, like emotional intelligence that just you're able to read someone and be like, "Oh, they're not getting it. Let me switch gears. All right, let's do a picture. All right, let's do
Yeah.
a entry. Let's like we you just you gotta figure out what your client's learning style is and like jive with that. Be able
Yeah.
to help them
Yeah.
learn. And when they get that moment where they're like, "Oh, I get it." That is the thing that I love.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, sometimes I struggle with that because I feel like I don't really have many of those just because it's like it's so hard to describe taxes sometimes, but but on
Admittedly,
everything else,
that
yeah.
I don't get a lot of what's going on with tax, like, I know enough to send it to you and be like, "Here's the stuff," and I'll answer but, yeah, I've talked to several tax folks, I'm like, "I don't know what you're saying, and we're in the same fucking field, dude." Like,
Yeah, like yesterday when you were like, we should talk about us or like, visualize a scenario of taxes." And I'm like, holy shit, duh, Claire. Of course I need to do that. But instead I'm just like, I've got to get a video on Instagram.
well, I mean, that's good
Like
though,
that,
that
like saving that lady. Do what?
I think your videos appeal emotionally, the way you word them emotionally and visually, but the numbers thing, that's how I would be able to understand I didn't get a lot of the stuff until it hit me personally where,
Yeah.
"Oh, you owe $15,000 in taxes this year." And I'm like, "Oh, wait, what the fuck? Seriously?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I did the calculation myself and I walked through it and I was like, "Oh, yeah.
So
I get it
this is this is all the other shit that I didn't think about. Of course you do like, okay, yeah, 25% for taxes maybe, but then you forget about like self-employment tax. And if you have any investment income, then you've got the net investment tax and then you got state income tax.
now." And when you're making that switch from W-2 to business owner 1099, whatever it is, you're used to having that tax taken out every month out of your paycheck. You just never see it. You don't worry about it. It just goes to the invisible place.
Yeah.
But then when you're a business owner, you're scrambling all year. The last thing on your mind is taxes. And
Oh
so
yeah.
you stop and take a moment to calculate like fucking mid-year. Look at what you're making and be like, all right, 15.3% of this, business deductions. Here's where I'm landing. This is about how much I owe. And I like what you posted where you're like, just fucking pay something. Just
I think it yeah, I get it. I was even like, for Christ's sake, just pay something. Um
I had that advice last year because I got penalized.
And you just don't think about those kind of things because you're like, I've got all my deductions, mileage, business use of
Yep.
home. But then you're like, holy fuck, my net income was really nice.
Yeah. My records were clean. I just owed a bunch of money.
Exactly. But I'm definitely glad that we found each other. Do you even remember? Did you find me? I can't even remember. I think
Oh,
did you
shoot.
post something about taxes and CFO or something?
Didn't we have a couple run in?
We
I
probably
think
did.
you were working with somebody that I used to work with, but we didn't meet that way. How did we meet?
I don't know. I really think that we just started we had already had a few run-ins, but I think that we were just like, yeah, when we started talking about when I got my car wrapped, which hasn't brought any
Oh,
customers, by the
yeah.
way.
I messaged you on, Instagram. I was like, "Oh, that's badass."
Yeah, and I'm like, the more I get to know about Summer, the more I love her and like her, and she's such a badass, and we have so much in common, but at the same time, like, you think about everything that I don't think about. So it's like
Yeah, we think very differently, and I like that. I don't want to partner with somebody that's like me because that wouldn't help me at all.
yeah, because honestly, like, even with us getting this new client, fingers crossed, but it made me realize that, holy shit, how did I do this alone? Like, how have I been doing this alone for so long? You just don't have anything to bounce anything off of. And then I'm like, holy shit, I didn't even think about ever about any of this. So I'm like, it's all eye opening to me. And then it makes you realize because so many businesses are out there fighting each other and competing, and I understand that competition is, you have to have it. But like, at the same time, no, you don't. There's enough work out there for everybody, and you don't have to be jealous or hate anybody, or just collaboration is real. Like, I really do feel if we all came together, like, we could literally change the world.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you and I both have, we've collaborated with several firms, and I think, even within our very niche, area of cannabis and fringe businesses or whatever you wanna call them, spicy businesses,
Yeah.
um we still have to we're even more specialized, and I think that serves the client better. It makes it more complicated for us doing revenue sharing, but I don't give a shit. Like, our job is to serve the client and to do what's best for them and their business, and if that means collaborating or, like, outsourcing to someone that is a professional or has experience in an area I don't, then that's what I'm gonna do because 'cause I'm looking out for
Yeah.
the client, not my ego.
Yeah, perfectly said. Because it really is your ego when you're like, I just want to have to do everything when but you really only know how to do one thing. And honestly, I couldn't sit here and say that I've probably never been like that. I feel like we all go through that at some point in our life and in the life of the business and shit. I feel like everybody goes through that. Like we're just
Yeah, for sure. Like, you do in the beginning, I think, and then you realize if you wanna go fast, go alone. If you wanna go far, then you need some people on your team. You need a team, you need support.
yeah,
And so I was going very fast in the first year, making decisions, like, I was able to pivot very quickly because there's nobody affecting my decisions don't affect anyone other than, me, myself, and I. So you have to make a decision, like, do you wanna stay boutique? Do you wanna stay very small and continue making whatever you're making at this moment? Or do you wanna scale? And I think that's another thing that people don't realize is when you run a company, when even if it is service providing, it's still very similar to providing goods because
God, yes,
you still have the scaling issues. Once we hire this person full time, this person is now dependent on us for a living. And so we have to
yeah.
be very fucking careful that we can continue to operate and be a going concern. Haven't heard that term in a long time. So we still have those, and it's risky. Like, we all know that, like, when you pulled the trigger from, like, side gig to full time, that's scary, but it doesn't end there. Like, you have to continue doing scary things.
Yeah. You gotta keep putting yourself out there and growing your business, like, you are constantly having to plant seeds, like, you can't just get enough clientele built up and then quit, like, you've always got to be promoting your business and growing your business,
Yeah,
because
the
those
sales team,
clients,
huge. If you are not good at sales, which I don't think either of us would
accountants,
be good at it.
yeah.
It's a tool we're sharpening, and again,
Definitely.
like I said, like planting seeds, talking to Cindy and just listening to like listening more than you talk sometimes, like all the things she
Yeah,
said on the podcast, I was like, "Yep, writing this down," and
yeah,
just the seeds where you let your ego go away and just I admit that you don't know something because really the precondition to learning is ignorance. You have to admit that you don't know something if you wanna learn it. So if you continue to pretend like you know something, nobody's ever gonna teach you.
yep.
Like,
You
let the ego go.
yeah, like, just fucking just quit your shit and just do it. That's really all it is. It truly really is your ego. God damn, it's just every time that's what it is.
And I think there's sometimes where we have to posture a little bit, right? Like during sales calls, get the sale first, either acquire the skills yourself later or outsource, hire somebody, figure out the details later. So you have to kind of posture there. But like after that, just if you need help, get the knowledge from somebody who's been there before. Talk to somebody that has more experience than you. That's like
Yeah,
times I would partner with I have a lot of experience in accounting as a worker, but not as a firm owner. So I would partner with other firm owners and I'd be like, you tell me what revenue share you want. I'm here for learning. I bow down to you.
yeah,
You go to the side. And really I got paid and got a new client and got experience and built a partnership with that person because now they know how I work and my work ethic. And they're like, hey, I got this client that I don't want. Do you want it? So you're
yeah,
built like like, collaboration, like you said earlier, really is where it's at, and it yields so many benefits in so many different ways. I don't
Yeah,
know whose
and I
company.
I do feel like there are, like, and I guess maybe because of the internet now too, but I feel like with the accounting industry, like, there's more, like, tribes, like, at least you're not alone. It's easier to connect to people out there that are like you. We've all got the same problems, whether you're a freaking grocery store or you're an attorney. Everybody's I think that is why we started this podcast because we've all got the same shit, the same issues, the same type of clients, the same to-do list that grows every day. Even when you mark something off, you add 4 things to it. And honestly, that's what I wanted. Maybe just I really want to bring awareness to the issues that we have, the lessons that we've learned, because if I could literally just learn to give myself 100% and give myself as much as I give my clients, I know you can't pour from an empty cup, and my cup is never pour empty, and I'm just like giving out. That's not really it, but like, my business and my clients are like my babies, and, like, I would kill for them, and so, at times, I do give myself less because of that, and so, like, this week, for example, and I understand it happens at times, at times it's necessary, but, like, I've really been trying to start working out consistently, and that's one thing
No,
that
I was
I
just
always
about to
failed
say,
at.
proud of you for that. So, like, if anyone's listening that's not a business owner, you're like, "What? Why is it such a big deal?" It's a huge deal. To take time for yourself in the first 5 years of owning a new business is fucking hard. It's extremely hard.
You feel guilty.
Yeah, because there's never nothing to do. There's never a time when you're sitting at your desk and you're like, "I'm done with everything." You're never done. That list
Yeah,
continues to grow, and if
it's
you are done and you think you're done, you should be doing sales.
Yeah, exactly. Like the job is never done. The job is never complete. And it's like you could go off on your own to find freedom. And you have freedom, but it's not really freedom. But I would literally never I would not trade a day in any I fucking love it. And I'm literally I feel like we're both obsessed with business just the same. And so I think that's why this shit's gonna be awesome, dude. Look at us. We're 2 badass CPAs.
Yeah,
Look at us. We're not like your typical CPA. So there's the first thing. The second
I
thing, which is I was just gonna say we really are, like, obsessed with business, but I think honestly, I think every single business owner is.
you have to be. You have to be insane in the membrane.
Yeah, you totally do.
The startup handbook that I'm making, like, the first chapter is gonna be trying to talk people out of starting a business because and not because like, I'm trying to shit on other people or think that we're better. Like, we're not better. We're not like, business owners aren't better. They're not like, they're not a better breed or anything. We're just different. Like, for some
Yeah.
reason, we're sadists, and we like the pain of and stress of this and having constant problems. Uh,
Yes.
but if you can be talked out of it, then you shouldn't start a business.
Yeah.
Or not
I
ready. Don't do it yet. Wait until no matter who tells you you shouldn't do it, you do it anyways, because that is the type of perseverance that you need, especially on days where, like,
where
shit
you
at
just wanna yeah,
is happening, and it
yeah,
tends to all hit at once.
or I was gonna say you just wanna lay on the fucking couch for 1 day,
Yeah.
but then it turns into 6, and nobody's there to nobody's there to check your email or take care of the shit that you're gonna take care of, so it
Yeah.
just adds up, and yeah, I think yeah, we're all fucking mad. I don't think any of us would trade it for the world. So maybe we
Yeah.
are a little insane.
Oh, yeah. I think we are, for sure. You have to be. Like, our
That's
brain has, like, some weird I don't know, maybe the medulla oblongata is broken. What it does. How that's that
Yeah, what is that movie with where he's like, "The medulla oblongata," is that on, is
Is
that
it Waterboy?
Waterboy? Yeah,
Not
man, and Bobby Boucher, and I'm like, "God," like, just being from Louisiana and seeing those types of movies with their accents and everything, and you're just like, "God," they had to have the subtitles or, like, on Swamp People where they had to have all the subtitles because you could not understand what they're saying, and you're just like, "Not everybody is like that." And there's nothing wrong with talking like that, obviously, but it's definitely
Yeah,
an
where's your
accent.
accent?
I don't know. I guess maybe I got rid of it or something.
Did you ever have one?
I would probably say so. I think it comes out sometimes, but I don't know. I guess maybe I've tried to hide it so well because I did come from a little town that had a flashing light, and that was pretty much it. But grew up I grew up in Pride, Louisiana. So,
Like
I
Pride,
mean, you
like
would
Pride parade?
no, like, just it was just the town called Pride.
So I thought it would be good to go. We have a pretty unique perspective on businesses, and it's really awesome. Because regardless of whether you're a firm that does advisory or you're just doing the accounting bookkeeping, you have a unique perspective. You get to see a lot of different businesses and how different they all can operate and the mistakes that they've made, the things that they've done well. And so it puts us in a really unique position to be able to see all of that, compile that data and be like, all right, like clearly this is trending this way and maybe that's the best way to go. But like when you think about like common mistakes you've seen business owners make, what have you seen or what do you like what's your perspective on that?
Oh god, common mistakes that business owners make. The main thing is so many different people and business owners, no matter what industry, do not renew their annual reports. They don't use a separate bank account. So, like, you're already null and void. Like, the LLC protection side of it is already null and void. That is one of the biggest things, I think, is the annual report, the bank account, the commingling of the funds. Like, I would say that and not promoting their business enough, not promoting their business enough, not you gotta post yourself on social media. I know that we hate social media, but, like, you have to do it. Like, it's a necessary evil now. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of businesses struggle with selling their self, selling their service, putting their self out there, planting the seeds. But I would say, like, the biggest one that I see is the LLC thing. And I am actually I talked to my friend Anthony Brister today, and we're actually gonna do a podcast together. Like, he wants to do an episode about this whole ordeal, the LLC thing and not using it properly.
Okay. So he's probably got a lot of insight on. So usually like when we have the entity structure conversation, we're always going to come at it from the accounting tax perspective, which those are two different
Yeah,
perspectives anyways. But
yeah.
the attorney is going to come at it from the legal perspective and both of those need to be considered because I think a common question that I get is what entity is best for me? And that's not black and white. And so what you're gonna get is a very long answer describing the different entities, but at the end of the day, you have to choose. Like, you have to choose the one that's right for you. We can't choose for you. So all you can
Yeah.
do is have those professionals in the room listening to what you value, what you have going on financially, both personally and business-wise, so they can get the full picture and tell you, like, "Here's the things that would apply or would fulfill those needs that you have," and then you have to choose. Nobody's gonna choose for you.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I like to tell my clients, "Okay, this is what happens if you don't do this. This is what happens if you do this, now and later in the future." Like you said, you have to decide. You are the ultimate end all be all. Like, you've gotta figure it out and decide. Like, we can guide you and tell you how things are gonna play out either way, but we can't hold we can hold your hand, obviously, too, but we can't you've gotta decide. I don't know any other way to put it.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you're signing the entity documents, but that's a pretty critical task or that's a pretty critical skill to have as a business owner is, the
Yeah.
ability to decide because indecision is it's a business killer, like, even in indecision, you're making a decision not to act, and that's worse than a bad decision, like, just
That's a
sitting there,
double bad.
make one, man. At least if you make a decision,
At least you made one.
if it's bad, if it's good, run with it, but if you don't make a decision, you miss both those opportunities, like,
Yeah, like, at least catch the 50% that's good. At
yeah,
least
fuck. So, like, horror stories, you got any good horror stories?
I don't I don't know about any, like, crazy horror stories other the biggest one, it's always an S corp, like, always somebody, like so I just got a client the other day, and she paid, like, $50,000 in taxes for last year, and, obviously, I looked at her return, and the prior CPA or accountant didn't take the QBI deduction or home office or anything like that, so You've always got that. I was able to amend her return and get some of that money back, but it's always, "Hey, somebody's coming in, they make a lot of money. They don't have an LLC set up yet." So we thankfully do that and get the S corp going and elect to file as an S corp and save a little bit of money there. But it's usually always people and clients coming in that are their prior CPA never did enough to help them to save money, and they never do. It's point blank because you can find something with every return, for the most part. And it's just really sad. I think that's what made me want to quit my job finally was people need help. Who the fuck would want to do their taxes and then realize they owe 50 grand? Nobody.
No,
Nobody wants
I'd be looking, I'd be like, I'd be balls deep in the tax code. I'd be like, "All right,
There's something. We can find something of it
I'll
here.
find something."
What kind of horror stories, what do you got?
Oh, man, my very first client was a shit show. I actually still trying to get into the industry and just, like, setting my ego aside, like, I reached out to this group of cannabis accountants, and I was like, "Hey, I'm transitioning from full-time work to part-time, and I'm starting my business. I will work for free for anybody who's gonna let me get experience for the next month." You got
Yeah.
30 CPA, MBA, done extensive work, but it's free for the next 30 days. I'm just trying to get experience. So I got somebody reached out, started working on their client. Eventually, he was like, "You can have this client." I was like, "Okay." So I took on the client and realized what a shit show they were and why he
Yeah.
was using them.
Oh my god, what an asshole, though. Not
No,
only did you work for him for free, then you took his shitty client with him, like, you took his shittiest client with you.
oh no, he tried to be pretty upfront with me about it, but honestly, that Dunning-Kruger effect where you don't know enough to realize how bad it's going to be until you go through it. So, like, I never would've I took it on and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I can handle it. Like, I can handle anything." And then I got into it and I was like, "This is a shit show," and I would never onboard a client like this again. But yeah, we ended up having to hire an attorney. So they went through, like, a partnership divorce, which a big s man, this is not like in outside of business world, you gotta be really careful who you marry and mate with. In the business world, you gotta be careful who you partner with because that's almost as bad as a divorce.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. If not
uh,
worse.
yeah, so, like, there's 3 members that they were going through a partnership divorce, and their attorney was ultimately, like, harassing me and this other person trying to accuse us of not doing everything in the books so that they could get something to where the leaving member could try to take ownership of the business or whatever
Oh
it
my god. Yes, yeah, holy shit. Wow.
It ended up not working. We hired an attorney and then just we started communicating through him. I was like, "I just don't wanna deal with it anymore, so we will hire you to just not have to talk to this piece of shit." The attorney
Yeah.
who was just, like, using these, like, really unethical tactics, like, trying to fear us into giving him information or whatever. So, that was my first client. So, that was both for the like, it was stressful for the clients too. Um there was 3 of them, 2 were brothers, 1 was a friend. The friend
Yeah.
ended up leaving, and there was probably some miscommunication there about who was gonna be doing what work, who was gonna get paid what, which isn't always it's not always the same, like, those partnership agreements can be different, and if you don't have a partnership agreement, if you don't have an attorney in your corner, um,
It's divided evenly, right? Yeah.
it defaults to the state, like, whatever the
Yeah.
state ship says,
Yeah.
so and
Yeah.
that can vary, so if you're putting in sweat equity and everybody's getting paid equally eventually, there's gonna be some resentment, like, "Why am I working this much and you're making the same?" So you really if you're partnering with someone, you need an attorney to be in your corner, not just an attorney for the entire business, like, somebody that is your attorney.
Yeah, personal and the business, and you need to have them from the get-go, like, or you need to have somebody in your back pocket for that. I mean,
At least drafting the agreement.
it's we all have the same issues, the same problems. I really feel like this podcast is gonna, like, bring us all together because it is true, like, we don't have any friends, like, we have each other, thank God now, like, for so long, I didn't have any really, which is
It's
crazy.
isolating, like,
It really
your
is isolating.
your problems oh, man, there's so many like, roads we could go down right now and talk about, but I guess we'll talk about, like, the isolation piece, like, your problems change drastically, like, before becoming a business owner, you're stressed out about, like, work being boring or having too much work or, like, you're trying to balance that, but really, it's not super bad because it's not the weight of the company that you're worried about, you're just worried about balancing your time a little bit, like,
Yeah.
with that 9 to 5 realm, but then when you leave that space, you have to worry about balancing 24 hours of your time. And then like in the beginning, I don't know about you, but like the first year was hard for me to stop working. Like I was working up until I would wake up, I would do some chores. Maybe I'd get on the computer, I'd work, I'd eat while I was working. I would maybe walk around so my legs didn't go numb. And then I would work until I went to sleep. Every
Yes, yep, and
like
I did never took time for myself, like, never worked out, like, never just
yes, I
and
thought
I'm
here.
and I'm dealing with that now, like, from getting this podcast started, like, and working so much this week, like, my hips are so tight and my lower back is killing me because 'cause I'm just, like, hunched over at the desk.
Counting forward. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's like earlier when I was saying, like, it is monumental that you're doing that, and I think it's awesome, and I am very proud of you for putting that at the forefront of because it's a recurring theme that we're hearing over and over again is, like, when you suffer, the business suffers. They are not different, they are not separate. It is an extension of you. So you taking care of yourself is you showing that you love and care for not only your business, but your clients. So hopefully they're
Yeah.
listening and they see that you are taking steps to, um,
Yeah, I'm finally working out, everybody.
well, it's filling your
It's
cup. And the more the fuller your cup is, the more you're going to be able to give to those clients.
Oh, yeah, like, I look at your posts, like, with you skateboard and stuff, and I'm like or longboarding or whatever you wanna call it, but I'm like, "Gosh, damn," like, I would love to be able to let myself like, I've got to learn to make myself have time. Like, I'm still learning, that's something that I'm still learning. I think it's
It's
because of my
hard.
OCD. Yeah.
Like you said, I guess like what the reason I love skateboarding and surfing is because I can't get to my phone. Like I'm either having too much fun at the skate park where I can't like reach it or I can't access it or it's on do not disturb. But when you're on the surfboard, there's no phone, there's no music, there's no one that can get to you. like,
Yeah, yeah.
so have to be completely detached from that. It's like the only time that I'm forced to not have notifications or get client emails or the 10 other different ways that we receive notifications, LinkedIn, Instagram, text messages, the business phone being forwarded to your personal, like all of that, like all the many different ways that our clients can get in touch with us are also the many different ways in which our time slowly gets chipped away like minute by minute. And it if you do not establish those boundaries, it starts to eat at your mental health.
Yep. It really does. It really does, and I know from personal experience.
Yeah, burnout, man.
Yeah.
I think everyone has it's been a real big buzzword, but it's real, and especially for business owners who have that, like, same I feel like there's a certain personality trait that's the same, and it's just like that, like, squirrel ADHD, like, really good at multitasking, but, like, you don't have a middle, like, there's no middle ground, there's just, like, full throttle. I gotta do everything today. This check needs to
Or
last
0,000.
nothing.
It's either fuck no or fuck yes. Like,
Yeah,
I'm either doing it full blown or
or not at
I'm
all.
not doing it at all.
I'm paralyzed by my to-do list.
But Chase came in here the other day and he was like, "What are you doing in here?" Because 'Cause I'm in my office, which is it's in between it's the dining room. I come in here and look at my to-do list when I'm not working, and I just sit there and look at it. And he's, "What the fuck are you doing?" I'm like, "I just look at it. I don't know." He's like, "It's not just looking at it's not gonna make it any worse, and it's not gonna make it any better."
Yeah, after that year of, like, I fucking cocooned. I didn't go anywhere, like, I just didn't leave my house, and that was really bad, of course, for mental health. All my health markers were going down, and I was like, "Oh my god, this shit's got out of control." So, like, it was all about little steps, like, at first, I just had to slam my computer closed at 6, and that's it.
Be
No
done.
no
Yeah.
more work getting done, and, like, the feeling of slamming your computer closed is so good, it is kinda it feels final for the day, so I got good at that once it's closed, unless there's, like, extenuating, but yeah. So, like, those little steps for business owners, like, if you are not a business owner, you're just listening to this for the entertainment value because I know we're super entertaining, and we're funny, and we're cute, but hug a business owner today.
'Cause we're all struggling internally deep, deep inside. But we want the torture, so I guess you can't feel too sorry for us.
Yeah, I think we're definitely risk takers, and I don't think we'd be comfortable not taking risks, but there's definitely smart ways to take risks, and then there's, like, dumb ways to take it. Yeah, starting a business is a risk, and there's always gonna be the fear there's gonna be a chance of failure. There will be. You could have the best fucking team, and something could happen to the economy. There's just shit that you cannot control, but you can mitigate it. So, like, hiring people like us to help you if you're, like, completely not a numbers person or you just don't like it. Like Cindy was saying, I think that's such great advice. She's talking about like the owner of Spanx or whatever, hire to your inability or your deficiencies. That's true. If you are not good at something, it's probably not that you're not good. You just didn't spend the time to do it because you don't like it. Like a lot of
Yeah.
things that we're good at, we like doing. So of course we're going to spend more time like honing on those skills. So if you hate it, you suck at it, whatever is the case, like that should be the first thing you hire to. And if
Yeah. It
here's your people.
Yep. Exactly. And it feels good to be at that point or to start to be at that point. Scaling is always hard, and that's the one thing we'll have to talk about on another episode, but
Yeah,
you've
we'll have to
gotta
have
do it.
a
Yeah.
episode,
Yeah.
um, talk about different industries and how they scale and, like, the different things that, like, after hearing it, you're gonna be like, "That's so fucking common sense, like, how did you not know that?" But it's like the frog in boiling water, like, when you slowly turn up the heat, you don't really realize what's going on. When your business
God, yes.
and you're hitting, like, certain milestones, you're like, "Fuck yeah, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm killing it." Like, year 1 is just, like, lesson after lesson, and you're learning so much, you're making money, you hit that six-figure goal, like, not a lot for retail, but, like, for independent service workers who are, like, just tending like, for solo, that's a pretty
Yeah.
big milestone, so you think you're killing it, and then reality hits you, and you're like, "Oh, shit," like, I have a choice now. Like you're at a road, you're at a fork in the road where you can either continue being that six-figure lower end firm, or you're gonna have to make another scary jump to hire people to get you to that next level. Like you gotta start doubling and doubling if that's what you want to do. Like you could choose there's a lot of people that choose to be boutique and just like keep it very small.
Yeah.
1, 2, level 3 people. And that's everyone's choice, but that's not the route I want to go. Like I started this business to fuck shit up.
Yeah, same. Like I started this to change the industry, to change the world. Like business owners want to know. I think that's another thing we're have in common. Like we want to show you how to start and run a business. There was no roadmap or instruction manual when we started ours. Like
Yeah.
we've gone through all of it. We're always going through and learning all the lessons, so you don't have to.
Yeah, yeah, and they're hopefully make you laugh while learning it, 'cause you're never gonna do it perfect. You just aren't.
Mm-mm. No, and if you did, you would never do it because,
Course
like they say, what do they say? Don't wait till it's perfect because you'll never start.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta be a trigger puller.
Yep. You just gotta go. You just gotta fucking do it. No matter what it is, what it looks like, you've got to do it. And it'll get better with time, like everything else. Consistency is always key. So,
Yep. The little things every day, like the little steps, and that's another thing that's fuck, that's a whole whole 'nother road to go down is, like, recognizing small wins, like being your own cheerleader, pulling yourself up when you're like 'cause you have to pull because you're gonna be the one that fucking yells at yourself too. You're like your own boss. "Hey,
yeah.
do any work today? You're a piece of shit. Where's your time card?" And then you go down like a whole rabbit hole of like how shitty you are because you didn't work one day and not taking into consideration that you're always on the clock.
Yeah.
And then just taking a moment out to be like, okay, it's been 2 years. I really do give myself a hard time and I work a shit ton, probably more than during my time in public. But
Oh, yeah.
where I am now, like I remember when I was leaving the military, sitting at my kitchen table in Mariester, Florida. That's where I lived at the time. I was stationed in Hurlburt Field, and I was mapping out like my next 5 years after my degree and where I'd be. And if that girl could see where I'm at now, probably wouldn't believe it. She'd be like, "No fucking way. No way I could do that." Like owning my own business, not something I could do. But
It's the same.
you have to take a moment out to respect that little girl or that young woman that would love to have lunch with you because you'd probably be her mentor. Like, you have to
Yeah.
kind of things in perspective for yourself. Like, we've done some pretty rad shit. Yeah, we're super down to earth, but don't let that fool you. Just we are badasses. We're just
Even though you just almost made me cry talking about going to lunch with your younger self because it's really true. I would have never imagined that I would be here doing this right now and that I'd be partnering with CPAs around the country and we'd all be collaborating and doing stuff together. And
yeah,
we all work for ourselves.
and
Making a
hopefully
podcast, you know?
hundreds, dare I say thousands of other potential current small business owners, or maybe even giving someone the courage to. or maybe talking someone out that shouldn't. So,
Yeah, exactly. So that's I can't wait to yeah, I can't wait to see where this all goes, and I feel like everything about this podcast is gonna be amazing. We've already got Chase's approval, saying he thinks he didn't get bored once, and he said it had Joe Rogan vibes, so I feel like that's pretty good compliment,
I'll use that
but to do what?
I'm gonna use that quote on our website.
We got Rogan vibes, yeah, but I think we've got stories, we've got lessons, these and I think I was saying something the other day to people, it's real advice, it's real people, it's real stories, it's real business owners, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's real raw too, like, we're like, as we keep going, you're probably gonna hear some personal stuff.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure, like, all the things are gonna come out in this, I'm sure.
Yeah, the whole, like I think I went squirrel on you and I didn't answer 100% like how I ended up here, but, um, the seed had been planted. Like, I always loved entrepreneurs and I just that was, like, my shining stars. "Oh my god, they're so awesome," but it's out of my reach. I can't do that because 'cause I'm not as good as them, and that wasn't the truth. The truth was that fear was telling me that, and fear will tell you different things. It'll tell you different stories, but most likely it's gonna tell you the thing that you're most insecure about, and mine was my value. And so it's gonna play on that, and it should, right? Like, it should, because if it works, then you're not ready. You're not ready to start. You're gonna have to withstand so much shit in doing this, that if you
Yeah,
can't overcome that piece, then you're not ready. It's not that you never will be, it's that you've gotta reconcile something within, and for me, that was my value, and so it took years for that seed to be planted first, and then I think once my kids were a little bit older and I wasn't worried about, like, they can get jobs and survive if need be, but that was a heavy weight, and I couldn't really bear that and risk their well-being on it yet, and then my dad passed away, and that was in 2020, in July of 2020, and I think he'd be really proud. It
yeah.
he was only 58, and it was very sudden. It wasn't like he wasn't ill or anything, it was just very sudden, and it hit me, like, I got a phone call from my cousin, and fuck, I didn't think I would cry.
Like, shit.
Um, and I knew, like, when she called, what I don't know why, like, I just knew, and then 58, never got to retire, and was always super proud of what I did, and ugh, shit. It showed me how short life is.
It
Yeah.
really is.
I was like, that's when fear I was like, "Fuck that. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not letting it control me." Like, it is so short, and you do not know if you have to tomorrow. Um,
Yeah. And because we were taught to go to school and work hard and work so you can retire and then you can live. But then with your dad being 58 and then my dad being 60 and diagnosed with cancer, you never know. So you have to make time for yourself. You have to take the chance. You have to bet on yourself because nobody else will.
and then yeah, and you're balancing that right now with a podcast and a business and all this other stuff we've got going on. You've got a marriage that you have. That's another whole thing that is takes dedication and time and nurturing, and so it's I mean, that's why I say it with love. I'm not saying it what's that coming from trying to be better, but I say it with love because it is hard, and when something like that, like, very losing a parent or having a parent go through something like that is it's devastating, especially like that early, and it changes your outlook, it shakes your world up, and so you're having to
Really
deal with that
does.
now and also continue to nurture your relationship, your business, and your business relationships. So that is hard. And that is why I say it with love that like be like have a good support system, have people in your corner. If you have mentors or like people around you that have started businesses before and you don't have the funds to hire like an advisor, like just have them in your
Reach
corner.
out to them. Yeah. Cause I feel like they will be there for you no matter what. Like, I would help any business owner. Like, it's like we're this unknown, like, spoken thing that we all have each other's backs, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, just having someone to vent to sometimes.
Oh my
Um
god.
invaluable.
Yes. but
Camp
I
er
do I'm like, "Damn it, Summer, why'd you do that to us?"
Sorry.
But I literally cannot wait, and I'm excited. I'm excited for the release date, and I literally cannot wait to see where this thing goes.
Yeah, yeah. I can't wait. I just hope it helps people, makes them laugh, maybe makes them tear up and in a good way.
I think it will. Shit, if people don't cry at us crying, then something's wrong with them. I'm just
Sociopaths, if you are a sociopath, you should be on our sales team.
we need to hire you right now. Um, do you have anything else you want to add for this episode, or should we cut it out and save up some more stuff for the next one?
Oh, laughed, we'd cried, we haven't bled yet, but we'll save that for the next episode.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds good. I'm so grateful for you, dude, and I cannot wait to see where this goes and how many people we help. I know we're gonna help people. I'm learning so much, and we just got started.
Yeah, yeah, and the cool thing is usually, like, I put tasks and, like, hanging out with people in 2 categories, like, energy sucking or energy, like, reviving, and this actually, but the first couple, I was like, "Ugh, I don't know, it's nerve-wracking," but it actually feels like it like, fills the cup a little bit just being able to talk to other people on that level and not having
Same.
to ask and not being their cheerleader or advisor or whatever and just, commiserating, been nice.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way because I was just like, man, at first it was, I guess maybe because I did this whole scheduling to back, but then lesson learned, we'll figure it out. But I think it does feel nice talking to everybody and
Yeah.
knowing that we're not alone.
Yeah, I like it a lot, and I love the many different perspectives and personalities, and that's really cool.